Harris, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar facing some significant fallout after making these harsh comments following the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
There is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that, his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade. These people are full of and it's important for us to call them out.
Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn took offense, reacting on X, quote, Ilhan shows no remorse in slandering an honorable man who was brutally murdered in cold blood for the entire world to see. As many grieve the loss of a husband, father, and patriotic American, Ilhan has chosen a divisive and dangerous path for.
Opened with a charged atmosphere as Ilhan Omar prepared to defend herself. But the room was already divided. Her allies AOC and Rashida Clay sat beside her ready for battle, while critics like Nicole Malliotakis and Lisa Malliotakis waited for their turn to speak. Camera zoomed in on Omar's face, calm but visibly tense. AOC rose first, her voice filled with emotion, accusing the House of turning politics into persecution. "This isn't about accountability," she declared. "This is about silencing a woman who refuses to bow down." Her words sent ripples through the chamber, and whispers filled the room as she sat down, defiant. Then came Nicole Malliotakis, walking to the microphone with an air of cold precision. She wasted no time, accusing Omar of spreading division and disrespecting American values. Her tone was sharp and unforgiving. "You've used your platform not to unite," Malliotakis said, "but to attack the very principles that allow you to serve here." The impact was immediate. Gasps, murmurs, and visible discomfort among Omar's supporters. It wasn't just a political critique. It was personal. Malliotakis stood her ground, her words cutting deep, leaving Omar visibly shaken for the first time during the hearing.
Gentlelady from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that, I yield 2 minutes to my friend from New York.
AOC quickly responded, firing back with a passionate defense. She called the attacks against Omar thinly veiled discrimination, saying that history would not be kind to those who used power to silence women of color. Her voice trembled with fury and conviction as she pointed toward the opposite side of the chamber, accusing them of hypocrisy. "If you truly believe in freedom of speech," she said, "then stop weaponizing it against your colleagues." The crowd erupted with shouts of support and disagreement echoing across the hall. It was no longer a debate. It was a full-blown political storm. When Lisa Malliotakis took the floor, she delivered one of the harshest rebukes of the session. Her words were measured, but her tone was unrelenting. She accused Omar of showing a consistent pattern of anti-American sentiment, adding that such behavior had no place on key committees. "We can disagree on policy," Malliotakis said firmly, "but not on loyalty to this nation." Her remarks drew loud applause from her side of the aisle. Omar sat quietly, blinking rapidly as she tried to maintain composure. The tension was suffocating, and the air in the chamber felt heavy with confrontation.
Yes.
Gentlelady is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentlelady from the great state of New York, Nicole Malliotakis.
The gentlewoman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela. That is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative, to hear the representative belittle, to try to diminish the worst terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability, because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with representing our country and our Congress to foreign nations.
Then came Rashida Tlaib, her face already wet with tears. Her voice broke as she spoke in defense of Omar, calling the attacks unfair, cruel, and deeply un-American. She said Omar had endured death threats, hate campaigns, and endless criticism, yet continued to serve with courage. "You don't have to agree with her," Clay cried. "But you must see her humanity." Her words brought silence to the room. Even some of Omar's opponents looked away, uncomfortable with the raw emotion pouring out before them. It was a rare moment of vulnerability that cut through the political noise. When Omar finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. She told her story once again. How she fled war, how she came to America seeking safety, and how she believed in this country's promise of equality. "I'm not perfect," she said, "but I have always fought for what I believe is right." As she spoke, her voice began to tremble. She addressed Malliotakis and McClain directly, saying she understood their criticism, but could not accept the narrative that she was disloyal. "You can disagree with my ideas," she said, "but you cannot erase my love for this nation." The chamber was silent, every ear listening.
Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to address the House floor for 1 minute and extend and revise my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to congratulate my colleagues on voting to remove Representative Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee. The passage of H.R. 76 sends a strong message that we support Israel and the Jewish community. I urge the 118th Congress to now stand together, proudly upholding every single American, no matter race, pedigree, religion, nor creed, as any less American than their neighbor. That Jewish Americans are patriotic Americans, and that we all have a role in fighting bigotry and anti-Semitism in our country. We must make sure that the House of Representatives reflects such principles as a united body. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise.
But the silence didn't last long. Malliotakis shot back, saying Omar's words were too little, too late. She accused her of trying to play the victim, saying, "Patriotism isn't proven in speeches, it's proven in actions." Her tone was cutting and the back and forth grew tense. Omar's composure began to fade as frustration mixed with emotion. AOC and Clay whispered to her, trying to calm her down, but the attacks kept coming. Cameras caught Omar blinking away tears as the room grew louder and more chaotic, with both sides shouting over one another. AOC stood again, anger flashing in her eyes. "This is not justice," she shouted. "This is a spectacle." She accused the committee of turning a serious matter into political theater. Her words ignited applause from the audience while others booed in disapproval. "You're not removing her for misconduct," AOC continued. "You're removing her because you fear her influence." Her voice carried across the hall, echoing in every corner. It was one of her most emotional performances on the floor, defiant, articulate, and fearless.
Mr. Speaker, freedom of speech is the beating heart of a democracy. It's the entire reason that this building exists, so that we can talk out our differences. Free societies do not fear free speech, even when that speech is hateful or malignant or stupid. Free societies recognize that the only way to separate fact from fiction, love from hate, truth from lies, wisdom from folly, or good from evil is to put them side by side and to trust the people to know the difference. No central authority must ever be given the power to take this vital freedom away from the people or to punish anyone solely for expressing their opinions. Now, we based our entire form of government on the assumption that when exposed to all sides and all viewpoints, more than half the people are going to get it right more than half the time. This assumption has served us well through the centuries. The left rejects this premise. For many years, leftists have told us that speech is violence and can be answered with violence. This justifies their shouting down opponents and disrupting peaceful assemblies. We've repeatedly watched leftist mobs burn our cities, loot shopkeepers, and assault people on the streets while leftist politicians egg them on. We see the growing physical attacks on law enforcement. The left used the FBI to suppress debate on critical issues ranging from COVID lockdowns to Biden family influence peddling to climate hysteria. It's called for government commissions to regulate it. In Europe, leftist governments now criminalize it. Now, I raise these points because a member of this House recently made some truly vile and despicable remarks about Charlie Kirk after his brutal assassination. Her words should be loudly and universally condemned. Now, last night on the House floor, a resolution of censure was brought against her in the name of Charlie Kirk to formally punish her for her hateful rhetoric. But what did Charlie Kirk say about hate speech?
Moments before the final vote, Lisa Mlan gave one last speech. Calm and confident, she said, "We are not silencing Ilhan Omar. We are upholding the standards of this institution." Her words were firm, but her expression showed no malice. Still, the decision was already made. Omar sat with her head bowed, tears rolling down her face as she clutched her notes. The once fierce energy of her earlier speeches had turned to quiet sorrow. The image of Omar wiping her eyes became the defining visual of the day, a symbol of the emotional cost of political warfare. The gavel struck, sealing Omar's removal from the committee. The chamber erupted, some cheered, others cried. AOC and B immediately rushed to her side, embracing her tightly as cameras flashed around them. Omar, eyes red but head high, her supporters. "You may remove me from this seat," she said softly, "but you will not remove my voice." The three women walked out together as Malliotakis and Mclain stood in the background, satisfied with the outcome. It was a moment filled with triumph and tragedy all at once. A clash of ideals that showed the world just how divided yet emotional the heart of Congress had become. After the gavel struck, the chamber slowly emptied, but the energy lingered like static in the air. AOC and Rashida TL stayed behind, comforting Omar, who sat quietly, staring at the desk in front of her. The noise of footsteps and shuffling papers filled the background. Yet, their corner remained heavy with silence. AOC leaned over and whispered something that made Omar nod through tears. It wasn't political anymore. It was personal. The cameras continued to roll, capturing that image of solidarity. Three women standing together, bruised but unbroken. That snapshot would later dominate headlines across the country. Outside the Capitol, reporters swarmed, shouting questions as the trio emerged. AOC stepped forward first, her voice steady but emotional. Today was not a victory for democracy. She said it was a warning. Behind her, Rashida McClain added that the decision revealed how quickly truth could be replaced with politics. Omar remained quiet, wrapped in a scarf against the cold wind, her eyes red but resolute. Cameras flashed non-stop as microphones closed in, but she simply said, "I have no regrets." That moment, brief yet powerful, became the headline clip replayed on every major network that night. Meanwhile, Nicole Malliotakis appeared on camera with a composed smile, saying the vote was necessary for accountability. She framed the decision as a step toward restoring integrity in Congress. Yet, her words drew a mix of praise and backlash online. Supporters celebrated her firmness, while critics accused her of targeting Omar unfairly. The internet was ablaze with hashtags like #StandWithOmar and #accountability now trending side by side. The divide reflected more than just politics. It reflected a nation split in how it viewed justice and fairness in public service. In an emotional interview later that evening, Ilhan Omar finally spoke at length about what happened. Her voice was calm but deeply emotional as she said, "I was not removed for wrongdoing. I was removed for who I am." She spoke about the pain of being constantly questioned about her loyalty and how exhausting it was to be under constant scrutiny. Yet, she also spoke about gratitude for those who stood with her and for the voters who refused to lose faith. Her interview became a trending moment across social media, symbolizing resilience amid rejection. Back in Congress, Lisa Malliotakis doubled down, defending her stance during an evening press conference. She said the vote wasn't personal, but about maintaining standards. Every member must be held to the same measure, she insisted. But when asked about the emotional reaction from AOC and TA, she paused briefly before saying, "Politics is emotional, but emotions don't erase consequences." Her tone was calm, but the clip circulated online is cold and dismissive. The contrast between her composure and Omar's heartbreak only fueled the public debate. AOC, on the other hand, became even more vocal after the hearing. She went live on social media, speaking directly to her followers for over an hour. With visible frustration, she described the experience as one of the darkest days in modern congressional history. Her voice cracked as she talked about watching Omar cry, saying, "It broke me to see her treated like that." Viewers flooded the chat with messages of support, turning her stream into an emotional rallying cry against what she called political punishment disguised as procedure. Rashida TL also took to the House floor the following day, delivering an impromptu statement that wasn't on the agenda. Tears streamed down her face as she said, "We may have lost a committee seat, but we have not lost our moral compass." Her words drew scattered applause, but also visible discomfort from some members who avoided eye contact. Clay's emotional honesty stood out in a space often dominated by cold calculation. Even her critics acknowledged that her authenticity made the moment impossible to ignore. As the controversy grew, news outlets began